Did you enjoy these writings? Okay, these are some of the writings. These are some writings which are taken from the students just like you. Okay, many a times you people write something really humorous. Okay, and we have a great fun. Okay, so today's poem also is a humorous poem, wherein the poet has composed a humorous piece, and he himself finds it so ridiculous, right? Then that it feels that he will die of laughter. Okay, so without wasting much time, let us just begin with our poem, The Height of the Ridiculous. The poem is composed by Oliver Wendell Holmes. Okay, Oliver Wendell Holmes has composed this poem plainly for one reason, and that is for entertainment. He has just one aim in composing the poem, is he just wants to make his readers smile. He just wants to make his reader laugh. Okay, so the prime focus of this poem is humor. Okay, it is a humorous poem. Okay, and the main purpose behind composing this poem also is only to entertain his audience. Okay, so the main purpose, so the point is clear, the objective is absolutely clear. The poet just wants us to enjoy this poem. So let us just enjoy this. So he says, I wrote some lines once on a time. So I wrote some lines once on a time. That is like, okay, one fine day he just composed something. In a wondrous merry mood, he was absolutely happy. Okay, in a very good mood, he composed some lines and thought, as usual, men would say they were exceeding good. Okay, and he thought, just because, after reading what he had composed, he felt, yes, definitely people are going to love it. The ones who read them, the people are going to love it. Okay, now one more thing that you need to notice in this poem is a rhyme scheme of the poem. Okay, if you look at the first line, it is time. Now, I hope everyone knows how to do the rhyme scheme. Okay, you always focus on the last word of each line. Okay, so last word, the first stanza, let us look at it. Okay, the first word of the last word of the first line is time. Correct? And the last word of the second line is mood. The last word of the third line is say. Okay? And the last word of the fourth line is good. Correct? So can anyone tell me what is the rhyme scheme? Yes, it is the first one. It is A. Then time does not rhyme with mood, so we give it a B. Say does not rhyme with either of them, I give it a C. And mood and good, so it has to be B. It is similar to B. Okay, so throughout the poem, the poet has used the same rhyme scheme. Alright, now let us go ahead. So he says that once upon a time, I composed some lines, and then when I composed it, and then when I read it, it seemed so funny to himself that he felt that the people who read it are going to really love it. Okay, they were exceeding good. They were so queer, so very queer. I laughed as I would die. And they were so funny. They were so interesting. They were so humorous, right? And then he thought to himself, oh my God, even I am laughing so much. What would happen to the readers when they begin to laugh? I laughed as I would die. Okay? Albeit, in the general way, a sober man am I. So he said, albeit. Albeit is though. Okay? So let me write it. Albeit is though. So he says, though in a general way, I am not a funny person, I'm not a humorous man, I'm a sober human, okay? I'm actually a sober, simple human, okay? But then, I have composed such a thing, I have composed such a humorous, such a seriously humorous poem, okay, that anyone would die of laughter, and especially me, myself, I will die of laughter because it is so humorous, okay. I called my servant and he came. So the first thing he did was he called his servant, okay, and he gave this poem to him. How kind it was of him to mind a slender man like me. To mind a slender man like me. Here again, in every line, if you notice, he has tried to imbibe humor. Okay, because the way he says that I am actually a serious person, and then the way I have composed the poem, it is really humorous, correct? And I would die of laughter. He is exaggerating the things, all right? So he's used a lot of figure of speech as well. Okay, so and then he says that he called his servant, correct? And he called his servant, the description of the servant, then later on it is given, he has made a comparison between himself and his servant, wherein he says how kind it was of him to mind a slender man like me, he of a mighty limb, he has a strong build, whereas me, I am not so mighty, I do not look so strong, alright, my personality, I am slim and slender. So he has made a comparison between himself and his servant. What kind of a man is he? He's a slender man, he's slender, okay. But then, what about his servant? The servant is really mighty, he looks strong. Okay, so these to the printer, I exclaimed. So he just gave away this thing and he said, give it for printing. Okay, so then, and in my humorous way, I added as a trifling jest. As a trifling jest means, he said, it is just a simple joke, nothing else. Okay. There'll be the devil to pay, okay, as a simple jest, just as a simple joke, he said, okay, fine, just tell him to print this, and the devil, that is he himself, he calls himself a devil, okay, the devil will be there to pay, okay. So, he took the paper and I watched. Who is this he over here? The he is the servant, okay. So, he took the paper and I, who is this I again? I is the poet himself, okay, and I watched. Okay, and I watched. Then what happened? What was the servant's reaction to this? Okay, and saw him peep within. He opened the poem and the servant happened to peep within the poem. So he said, at first line he read, his face was all upon the grin. The very first line that he read, okay, the man started grinning. The servant started grinning. Like that's hidden laughter, you can say, controlled laughter. Okay, he read the next. The grin grew broad. Okay, then he read the second line. What is the reaction? Okay, he read the second line and the grin grew even broader and shot from ear to ear. It's like he smiled so wide. His smile, it stretched from ear to ear. So he gave such a wide smile. Okay, he read the third, a chuckling noise. After that, he read the third line, and then he could not control himself. It was so humorous, right, that he began to chuckle. Like that, he began to chuckle. Okay, and he read the third, a chuckling noise. I now began to hear. Okay, so the poet has noticed his servant reacting to his poem. The fourth, he broke into a roar, and at the fourth line he laughed so loudly, like that, he broke into a roar. The fifth, his waistband split. At the fifth line, he laughed so terribly that his waistband also split. All right, doesn't it make you laugh too? Okay, some person laughs so much, okay, that you exert such a lot of pressure on your belt, pressure on your belly, that your waist belt also broke. Okay, the sixth, he burst his 5 buttons. So at the 6th line, which was so humorous, he burst his 5 buttons. Automatically his shirt buttons broke. and tumbled into a fit and tumbled in a fit. So like, he began to laugh, and it was as if it was a fit, as if he was in a laughter fit. Okay. And then for 10 continuous days and nights with sleepless eye. Here you need to notice one thing. There is a figure of speech called the transferred epithet. Okay. There is this figure of speech called the transferred epithet. Transferred epithet is adjective. Okay. Epithet is adjective. Over here, the adjective sleepless. The adjective sleepless is used for eyes, instead of the man. Okay. The adjective sleepless is used for eyes instead of the man. Okay, so as I said before, there are a lot of figure of speech also that are used over here. So he said, for 10 days and nights, I continuously watched him. Who? The servant. The poet watched the servant continuously, and what was he doing? He was only laughing. He could not control himself. Okay, and therefore I watched the wretched man. I watched that miserable creature. Oh my God, he's laughing so much. I felt pity upon him. Okay, I watched that wretched man, and since I never dare to write as funny as I can, and therefore he vowed that yes, now I am never going to write such a humorous poem. Okay, that's all with it.